I'm building walls, I'm building bridges to greatness, demanding excellence, no time for complacence. Act right or act out, the choice is always clear. My presence is my power, my standards draw the line here. Elevation, protocol, rising above the chaos, taking control. My values not negotiable, my worth is my law. Surrounding myself with excellence, that's what I saw. I'm not building walls, I'm building bridges to greatness, demanding excellence, no time for complacence. Act right or act out, the choice is always clear. My presence is my power, my standards draw the line here. This is the elevation, protocol, rising above the chaos, taking control. My values not negotiable, my worth is my law. Surrounding myself with excellence, that's what I saw. This is the elevation, protocol, rising above the chaos, taking control. My values not negotiable, my worth is my law. Surrounding myself with excellence, that's what I saw. I'm not building walls, I'm building bridges to greatness, demanding excellence, no time for complacence. Act right or act out, the choice is always clear. My presence is my power, my standards draw the line here. I'm not building walls, I'm building bridges to greatness, demanding excellence. No time for complacence. Act right or act out. The choice is always clear. My presence is my power. My standards draw the line here. Bridges to greatness, demanding excellence, no time for complacence. Act right or act out, the choice is always clear. My presence is my power, my standards draw the line here. I'm not building walls, I'm building bridges to greatness, demanding excellence, no time for complacence. Act right or act out, the choice is always clear. My presence is my power, my standards draw the line here. I'm not building walls, I'm building bridges to greatness, demanding excellence, no time for complacence. Act right or act out, the choice is always clear. My presence is my power, my standards draw the line here. My standards draw the line here. My standards draw the line here. I'm not building walls.
All right, how you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. Thursday, that's where we are, Thursday night. And as you guys know, we are live every night of the week, and we do not let the sun rise without going live, but we don't always start on time. So we ask you guys to like and subscribe, and ultimately hit those notification buttons and match the reaction buttons, and make sure that you guys stay tuned with the show. Now, what I've done for you guys this week, I see you, Stephen. what I've done for you guys this week is I have put up the rest of the majority of May and partly into June for all of our Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday shows. A lot of our Monday and Tuesday shows are booked up for this coming week and probably the week after. And our Wednesday show for next week is up there, but our Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday shows are typically based off of what's happening in the moment. So just remember, Stephen, that every like Sunday night, Monday morning, you want to go double check and make sure that your current Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday is tagged. But all the rest of the shows up till I think June 21st, you see them like all out there. They're out there. So I've been putting in a lot of work today for you guys. And I did that for two reasons. Because once I put the into the membership tonight, the stocks that we're watching for May and June, and I spend the rest of the weekend and part of next week getting the scripts for the next 60 episodes that we're going to guaranteedly cover. That'll give me a month and a half, almost 2 months to catch up on editing the videos that haven't been edited for the past 40 days and be able to add all of the information that I wanted to add into the membership as well, which allows for me to catch up with all of the back information for those individuals that are benefiting and enjoying from the membership. Stephen had asked me a question in the membership about the CarMax, which fantastic idea. And I want to touch on that real quick. When you are looking at stocks, because I gave him a lot of information about that particular stock, so I'm not going to go over it a second time. If you guys want to know about what's going on in the membership, go to the membership. But just overall, I want to say that when you guys do your research about a stock or an ETF or a bond, what you need to pay attention to are the environmental and geopolitical factors that impacts the success of that stock. Say, for example, the real estate investment trusts that I talked to you guys about. Those trusts are going to provide you with the dividends during the downturn. So while the value of the trust are going down, the value of the shares are going down, and they're going to go down for a plethora of reasons. The clientele that would be paying rent or paying mortgages are going overseas for war. Therefore, there's less people paying into the system. Less people paying into the system has less profits. Less profits negatively impacts shareholder confidence. Lower shareholder confidence, more people pull out. When people pull out of a stock, the stock loses value, but the share price goes down. The dividends are still there. These businesses have been around for 25 or 30 years. They're not going to likely go out of business during Donald Trump's reign. And as a result, you're looking at a potential bounce back after the war, after the chaos has subsided, whenever the troops come back. Whether Donald Trump stays in office or not, when the troops come back from combat, whoever does come back from combat, they'll go back to paying their rent and their mortgage or whatever. And when that happens, the share value for those stocks that were impacted by the war goes back up. Now, likewise, growth stocks, CarMax, those stocks are negatively impacted the same way. They're negatively impacted by the tariffs that cause car parts to be more expensive. They're negatively impacted by fintech that allows for cars to be bought online and shipped to your house now instead of you going to CarMax, because CarMax is like a certified pre-owned dealer. Yeah, they're official, so they guarantee you that that car is going to work the way it's supposed to work or your money back, right? But the downside is that the fucker is almost as expensive as a brand new vehicle. And it typically has a few dozen miles on it, right? So when you're looking at the affordability of used cars right now, you're looking at people can't afford a lot of the stuff right now with the way things are going, with groceries costing more money, gas prices being higher, people's insurances are going to be higher, interest rates are going to be heavier. You know what I mean? So people don't have as much money to spend. So a commodity like a car stock, you can buy into it right now because it's lower, it's undervalued, and it will bounce back, but it's going to bounce back after the war. A lot of the stocks, almost the whole stock market that is impacted by the war will bounce back after the war is over. And anything that's being negatively impacted because of the political decisions that Donald Trump makes will stop being volatile or be less volatile after Donald Trump gets out of office and they have a president of consistent decision making. The sudden change behavior of Donald Trump and any other president that comes in behind Donald Trump that has sudden change behavior, that volatility will keep the market undervalued. And if you're willing to ride that wave, then by all means, you get in there while it's cheap, put as much money towards it as you can. And then once the volatility slows down a little bit, the values of all the shares start going up, probably under a Democratic reign, because what do the Democrats do in office? Let's be real. Besides put more restrictions on guns, what do Democrats do in office? So you start seeing more stability, and when you start seeing more stability, whatever you invested in starts going up in value. If you can weight the benefit, like I told Stephen, I would say whatever's negatively impacted by Trump's reign will be negatively impacted until 2028. You're not going to start seeing an improvement on anything that's negatively impacted by Donald Trump to really start showing you improvement until almost 2029. Because he's got a 4-year term from 25 to 29. And in 29, that's when a new president will come in. Unless Donald Trump is reelected, that's when a new president comes in. And if a new president comes in and that president does differently, then anything that's not impacted by the new president that was impacted by Donald Trump will start seeing improvement in 2029. So if you're buying into something for an immediate change right now, that's not a good look. But if you're buying into something that's going to give you dividend returns during the downturn, that will then give you massive returns after the upswing, that's something that you want to get your hands on. So I encourage a lot of people to take a look at your dividend stocks before you start looking at your growth stocks, and use the dividends from your dividend stocks to pay into whatever growth stock that you want to get, so that you can benefit from the dividends during the downturn and then benefit from the growth during the upturn. And that's something that a lot of people don't think about. You got to do a little bit of both. So that's going to be diversifying your portfolio. Now, whatever you decide to do, you decide to do, but I strongly recommend that you look at it like that. Now, we are live 7 nights a week, as I told you guys before, and what we start off with is on Sundays, questions and comments from the fans. Stephen had questions. I provided them with answers into the membership, and the rest of you guys who have questions, you guys give me questions and I give you the answers, but I give you detailed information in the membership. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we talk about business and politics, and that's when we go into, on Monday, how politics negatively impacts your ability to make, save, and invest money. Tuesday, how to make money, save money, invest money, budget money, different ways to think about money, different ways to start up businesses that will generate money, automate money, all kinds of things that'll kind of make things easier for you to have more money in your pocket. Then we start talking about on Wednesdays, your ability to invest in other countries and potentially go and live there to improve your the dollar value. Because if you're going to a country that's cheaper than where you currently are, the same way if you move from an expensive state to a cheaper state, if the state you move to is 30% of the cost of living of the state that you moved from, if you're making the same money in the new state, if you're making $250,000 from California and you're living in Wyoming, and Wyoming costs 30% of the value of California, now you're making $250,000 in a place that probably only takes like 30 or 40,000. Now you have plenty of money to do more stuff with. Likewise, if you're making American dollars, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year, $35,000, $40,000 a year, because some countries like Bangladesh, Belarus, and how you doing, Joshua? Like Belarus, Bangladesh, and the Philippines, when you have places like that are able to take you in for like $2,000, $2,500 a month, that's like $25,000 to $36,000 a year, which is the bottom half, not even the bottom half, the bottom 25%, 25, 30% of American income. You could, if you're still making that income as a digital nomad, that 36,000 a year, that would not get you anywhere in the United States, could get you a middle-class lifestyle in some of the other countries that we talk about in this podcast. And that's why I tell you guys, hey, automate your money, digitize your money, digitize the way you get your money, so that you can direct deposit your money into whatever bank account in whatever country that you're in. You can just take the money, fly out with you, right? And that's why I talk to you guys about all this stuff on a regular basis to make sure that you guys know that there are other ways to go. Now, after that, we start talking about on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday self improvement, self development, relationship topics, negotiation, socialization, building your brand. We start talking about I actually scheduled it now because we already talked about raises and promotions. We're going to be talking about severance packages and forced retirements. We're going to be talking about termination packages so that you can talk to the boss about how you're going to park your money. Hold on a second. Come here. Hurry up. You're messing up my live podcast. Get on over here and go sit down. But you want to get on the show? Get on the show. Get on the show. Scoot over. Scoot over. Yeah, because I want to sit down too. King Paul. All right. Yeah. Ah. Now. Okay. So, what I was saying was, different ways for you guys to work your way out of your company. Make sure that you get as much benefits as you can on your way out of the thing, and then yeah, he's always here, but this time he needed some attention. Because I've been busy, so we have not been doing as much quality time as we should. He usually just somewhere sleeping, waiting on me to finish working, and every time he wakes up, I'm back working again. I've been doing a lot of stuff, but definitely. What are you doing? Oh, your leg falling out the chair. This chair ain't like the other chairs. So I give you guys the information that y'all need to be successful with finding alternatives to the way that you do what you do. So today we're going to be talking about not asking for that bill, and which is a little bit different from not paying the bill because I've done a lot of digging and I found a lot of information that kind of helps you guys with having the capabilities of avoiding the inconvenience of having to. Oh, you want down? Good, good. There we go. Of having to pay the bill in certain situations. So that's where we are today. Now, if you imagine this environment where the waiter clears the last of the dessert plates, a rich dark chocolate torte with a raspberry goulash, and it was exquisite. The wine, the deep Cabernet, it's down to its last few drops. The buzz of the restaurant is warm, of blankets of sounds with clinging and silverware, quiet laughter, and the sizzling from the kitchen. Take your final sips of water, dab your lips with the linen napkins, and then place it on the table, right? You stand up, you catch the waiter's eye, give him a slight nodding, and you start walking. Not a sprint, not a dash, just a calm, confident stride towards the exit. You pass the host. The host is going to stand without stopping you. You push open a heavy oak door. You step into the cool night air. The bell above the door chimes. Final punctuation mark. You just had a full 3-course meal at a high-end spot, and you're about to walk out without touching your wallet at all. Signing a slip or even looking at the bill. Not only is this 100% legal, but here's the strange truth. Restaurants actually want you to do this. Michael says fight. No, there's no fight, Michael. There's no fight. Ironically, this is the new age that we're stepping into, and this is going to benefit us for more than one reason, this minute. Now, I know you guys are probably thinking about this as a scam or that I'm about to get tackled by security, like Michael said. But the secret isn't about not paying. It's about paying invisibly, It's about using a hidden layer of technology and physical psychology that's completely changing the dining experience, which a lot of people have forgotten about. And I think I've covered this once before. He said, Dine and Dash days are behind me. You know what's funny? I actually got into a lot of trouble because I didn't want to Dine and Dash. Everybody else dipped and I stayed, and I got for it. And I was like, fuck this. Now I don't go nowhere without money. I don't have to get whatever it is that they're getting, but if I'm going out there, I'm going to get at least one thing and then pay my tab so that I have a receipt in hand for whatever I touch. That way, whenever anybody else decides that they want to dash, the whole crowd can run. I got a receipt. If I'm sitting at the table with 5 people and I've got a receipt, if everybody else walks away from their end, I got a receipt. I'm not paying for everything that they touch. It's just something that we learned. But yeah, dine and dash days are done. But you have to understand that dine and dash days are behind everyone with technology, and that's what we're going to be going into today. So we're going to be showing you exactly how this method works, the unorthodox methods that let you legally do what you would perceive to be a dine and dash method, and the deep psychological reasons that restaurants are desperate for you to do this anyway, right? And ironically, you're going to notice that, Stephen, you've probably experienced this a couple times at the bar. You've ever gone to the bar and the bartender knows who you are? They know you by name. You've been there before. You want me to open a tab? That's all they ask you. Do you want me to open a tab? You say yeah. And nothing else happens after that. They just keep handing you drinks. There's situations where you leave abruptly, but you're a regular. You're coming back. If you've ever done that before and you came back to the club, hey man, you didn't square away your tab the last time you were here. No worries. That's the first thing I'm going to do before I start buying stuff today is square away my tab from the last time. Restaurants actually make a lot of currency from regulars, more from regular customers than what they do from new customers that just come up out of nowhere. Well, yeah, Michael, paying up front, actually, that's going to be one of the things we're going to be talking about. But that only really works if you know exactly how much the bill is supposed to be. But you can at least, with that particular knowledge of paying up front, you could at least put a little bit of money down up front for what you think the bill should be. That way there might be a little bit of a difference. One of the things that a lot of bartenders do is like they'll just take your card and hold your card behind the register. And if something happens, they've got your card. And then even if you're not there, the restaurant closes, you left without your card, they can charge the transaction while you're gone, and then you can come back and get your card the next day kind of situation, right? There's that. Is in my 20s, I had a tab at a local bar that ran into the hundreds. Right, that's what I'm saying. You know, see, I no longer drink. Back in the day, I ran huge tabs and caught them on Fridays, and it was a bad move looking back. But in your 20s, it happens. But see, that's what I'm trying to tell you. No, the fact that you were doing this to drink at the bar and get loaded, and you realize how much money you were spending on your payday is a bad thing looking back at it. But the method that they were using back in the day is something like what we're going to be talking about today, is that they would establish a financial relationship with you behind the scenes so that you're not embarrassed about not having enough money to pay the bill today. They're not hassling you in front of other people. You don't have to have this awkward cash out moment. You can just walk out of the building, come back another time, and square it away because you're a regular. Or in situations like what Michael said, come a little bit before the appointment is supposed to be, whatever the event is, and put money down beforehand so that you can walk out of the building with at least a portion that you knew you were going to cover, and then anything extra is left on whoever's sitting at the table kind of situation. You know, these are just some of the things that we're going to be talking about today. But yeah, the problem that we faced in the past, let's be honest about this, the single most stressful moment of an otherwise great meal ends right at the check. It's that awkward pause after the plates are cleared, or right before the plates are cleared, right when they put the check on the table. You try to flag down your server if they like, imagine this, if they haven't put the check down. Imagine that you're sitting somewhere, you guys are done eating, you've asked for it to go plate, they haven't brought it to go plate. It takes like 10 or 15 minutes. The restaurant's busy. The server hasn't brought you your check yet. You're trying to flag down somebody to bring you your check. You wait and you wait. This is stressful. Research shows this delay, the post-process wait, creates immense tension because your goal, which is leaving, is blocked because you're afraid of getting in trouble for not paying the bill, especially if it's a couple $100, and the lack of control makes time feel slower. And this is one of the reasons why I told you guys back in the day, what I used to do is I used to order everything that I could potentially want up front and then pay the check before the food hit the table. Like Michael said, pay up front. And whatever the fuck everybody else wanted after that, I paid what I'm going to pay for this shit. Yeah, I don't care if it was $100. I don't care if it was $1,000. Whatever I thought we was going to get, that's what we're going to get. And that's what I'm going to pay for. If I order 10 drinks, like, it sounds insane. But when I do the math and I say, okay, we're going to have 3 appetizers. There's 2 people here. We're going to have 3 appetizers. We're going to have 2 entrees, 1 dessert, and then I'm going to have 2 drinks before the meal, 2 drinks during the meal, 2 drinks after the meal. That's 6 drinks for me, 2 more drinks for the person next to me. That's 8 drinks, 3 entrees. No, 8 drinks, 2 entrees, and 3 appetizers. That's what we're getting. And whatever the total is, check, please. Oh, and 1 dessert, check, please. Now, whatever that totals up to be, whether it's 175, 235, whatever, everything except the tip has been established on this check. I factor the tip in later. I'll probably pay the tab with the card and then put tip on the table later in cash on my way out the door based on the quality of service. But the fact is that by me paying in advance, when I wanted to get up and leave, if something happens, spur of the moment, I got a call, whatever the case may be, I'm just gone. Now, for guys that are on the first date, paying for the whole meal and then finding out that the person that you're with is not worth paying for, you can't take it back and say, oh, refund me half the check. You know what I mean? So you have to establish that if you're going to pay for yourself, guaranteed, but you might pay for the other person, you can go ahead and pay for whatever it is that you want to order for yourself. And then when the other person comes to the date, they can order whatever the fuck they want to order. And if you decide to catch their check, you catch their check, but your shit's already been ordered, right? And that way, that kind of prevents you from having to debate with them on whether or not you're going to pay their shares. Either I'm going to catch you or I'm not going to catch you, but I paid for me before you got here, right? And some females are going to be like, oh, you should have waited till I got here, blah, 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 blah. But in order for you to work out the details, as a leader, and this is one of the things that I was teaching somebody the other day, as a leader, you're the first one there and usually the last one to leave. And because of that, when you show up first, you're able to organize the situation so that the participants can benefit from it. Then, when everybody's leaving, as they're gone, getting their cars and everything to that effect, you're wrapping things up. If you were hosting an event, you would either be pre-paying for the event or post-paying for the event as everybody's coming in or as everybody's going out. Regardless of what it is, as the leader, you don't always have to go and get her and bring her to the restaurant. You can meet her there. She's an independent woman, right? She's got her own fucking car, right? Drive yourself to the fucking restaurant. I'll meet you at the restaurant. If we like the way this is going, we can convoy each other and go somewhere. So we can carpool from the restaurant somewhere so that tomorrow morning I bring you back to your car. But at the end of the day, in order for some of these things to work, where you can covertly cover the issues, you might have to go ahead of time, be the first person at the restaurant, show up 30, 45 minutes early. It might be inconvenient for the average person to say, oh man, damn, I scheduled this at 8, I got to show up at 7. Well, yeah, because you might have to talk to the manager, you might have to do some stuff, put your card on file in the back, whatever the case may be. and then make sure that you know that I'm covering me, and I might cover the other person, but I'm definitely covering me. So let me tell you what I'm paying for myself, and then if this person's got the right attitude, then I'm gonna cover them. This, that, and the third, and then they okay, cool. So that you already know, well, I'm not gonna have no feedback. You know, Steven says, I would find somebody before I wait unless I'm with my dad. But see that I'm not even doing that shit with my dad. I'm not. I'm not. If I go somewhere with my dad, before I know he's ready to go, I'm ready to go. So I'm looking for somebody before I'm done eating. I'm looking for somebody to bring the check. I'm like, nah, fuck all that shit. I'm not waiting for nothing. When it is time to go, it's time to go. I was raised that if your ass ain't in my car when I put it in gear, your ass is getting left. So in my lifestyle, I come from the dynamic of, nah, fuck that. I'm just and we back in. So since we're backing in, if the situation ain't going the way we want it to go, it's peeling out quick. Now, you got to understand that in the dynamic, when you're held up by the check, this is when psychological freedom dies. The vibrant social flow of a conversation and laughter is shattered. Y'all got nothing else to talk about. Then you also have the traditional payment ritual forcing you to shift from enjoyment mode to transaction mode, breaking the vibe and creating an artificial endpoint to the date. Suddenly you're not a guest anymore, you're a debtor, right? And it also puts you in an awkward situation because at this point you have to consider exactly how much this shit costs, because you weren't looking at the price before everybody started asking for shit, and you didn't have you didn't tell them that there was a fixed limit as to what they could ask for. A lot of guys are like, get whatever you want, thinking that they're going to be reasonable, and then come to find out that instead of them being reasonable and getting a mid-tier meal, they're going to order from the top left side of the fucking menu, most expensive shit, and now you got to decide, do I pay for this because I didn't factor this in, right? And many diners even feel genuine anxiety about the right way to signal for the check, worried that they're being rude or rushing the staff, especially when they see that the person is very busy in the restaurant. Then the little black folder is going to arrive. I call it the bill freeze. The conversation dies. And really and truly, it's always going to die, because first and foremost, as soon as that fucker hits the table, everybody stares at it. And a lot of people wait to see who's going to reach for it. And typically the first person that reaches for it is the brokest motherfucker in the room to see how much the tab is. And they immediately put the fucker back down. And then the person who's got to pay for it's got to pick it up and see what that facial reaction was. And then they start calculating all their bills. The uncomfortable power dynamic of bill splitting is going to begin amongst poor people. But an individual that doesn't want to be perceived as poor, or an individual that doesn't want to be perceived as a pushover, is either going to pay for everybody because he wants to, or is only going to pay for specific people because there's specific people that he don't fuck with at that table, right? Then you have to understand who's going to take the lead, right? Some restaurants teach servers to specifically ask at the beginning of the night, do we split the check or not? But that still makes it an uncomfortable discussion to have at the beginning of the date. Because if you're out there with friends, strictly platonic friends, everybody might go Dutch. But if you're out there in a romantic venture, women expect men to catch the check, even if the woman hasn't earned the right for him to catch the check. That's the weird part. Me, myself, I would probably say split that bitch, and I would have 2 credit cards anyway. One for that check and one for this check. That way, if she don't act right, I'm paying for myself. But if she act right, I'll catch her with the other credit card. That way, I'm not perceived as, oh, he ain't got it. But you got some bitches that are trying to go, he ain't got it. He let me pay for myself. And I seen something on social media earlier today, and I thought it was hilarious. Dude asked the female. He said straightforward. He said, why is it that women are so offended by splitting a check, but they're all for splitting the assets in divorce? And the woman sat back and she was like, wait, whoa. And And I thought, I was like, yeah, that's a good ass fucking question. Like, y'all don't want to split the check on the first date, but y'all damn sure want to split everything up to divorce. Steven says, I'm quick to say I'm paying for me or me and these two, if in a group, if that's my plan. I mean, yeah, there are some people that are confident in their ability to say, well, I know how many people I can afford to pay for or how many people I'm willing to pay for. But there's also scenarios like if you went on a date with another chick, or not another chick, you're a dude. You went on a date with a chick. And let's say there was another chick there. That's why I said it that way, because I was thinking about like she brought her friend or some shit like that. You know you're not going to pay for the friend. The debate isn't, are you going to pay for the friend? The debate is, are you going to pay for the other girl? The first girl, the one that you're supposed to be on the date with, not her fucking friend, right? Now, you know that you got your best friends from way back when, your road dogs that was there for you when times was tough, the ones that would gas you up when you had no gas money, the ones when pre-college days sucked like a son bitch, right? Those guys, the ones that you catch no matter what. You know that you got family members that if they were at the table, you already know they're covered, right? But you've got this person that you don't know sitting at the table. And you typically don't decide that you're going to pay for them before you get to the restaurant. You assume that you're going to pay for them before you get to the restaurant. But they can always do some fuck shit at the table that before the check comes that you're going to decide, nah, fuck that. I am not paying for this. Right? So these negotiations can strain friendships as a budget conscious dinners end up subsidizing a friend's expensive cocktail habits. If you've got somebody there that you thought, well, it's a 2 drink maximum, man. Like I'm gonna get 2, you get 2, or I'm gonna get 4, you're gonna get 4. That because it's happy hour, buy one get one free. So we're just gonna buy 2 fulls, and that gives us 2 extras. But that's it. Then your homie goes and orders 2 pitchers, some shots, a couple cocktails, some shit for the hoes on the other side of the room, and you're like, you know what, bro, I'm not paying for all that, right? You draw the line somewhere. So you had the intention to do some stuff, but when they exceed that maximum, it's like, nah, that's not what we came here for. Finally, there is the tipping screen, because modern day instruments of social pressure stares you down because it is a glowing percentage silently judging your generosity. A lot of people expect you 20%, 25%, 30% because servers don't always get paid full minimum wage. They get half of minimum wage plus tip. So if they don't make enough tip, they're barely making minimum wage. But a lot of the times, especially if they're hot chicks and servers, they're getting a shit ton of tips. So they not hurting like talking about it unless they're in a restaurant that doesn't make enough money, right? They don't have a lot of customers. The service must suck. That's why she's not making good money. Either the service sucks or the food is bad. That's why she ain't making no money. But a lot of places have a mandatory 18% gratuity. And if you're going to places like that, it's forced into the check. But places where gratuity is optional, the server, as well as the chick across the table from you, judging you based on the tip that you put down. The only time you're putting down less than 22% is if the service was bad. You're going to give something, but you're going to give less than 20% because the service was bad. Or if the food was bad, you might give less for the food, but the server ain't got nothing to do with the food being bad. But, that's what it is, right? It's a social grenade that's tossed onto the table at the last second that can turn an otherwise good night into a fucking disaster. And the whole elegant dance ends with a clunky, uncomfortable finale, right? This is the issue that we've had to deal with all this time. It is very ineffective, anxiety inducing, and it ruins the vibe. Sometimes it interferes with your ability to get laid at the end of the night if that was your goal. So what if you could just get rid of that altogether, right? Legally. What if the best part of the meal was the actual ending of the fucking meal, where you simply decide that you're done eating and you leave? The money just moves in the background like magic. This isn't a fantasy, and this is the world of frictionless, invisible payments, which is something that I've tried talking to you guys about before. And while it sounds like Wi-Fi, the tools are already in your pocket, and the strategies are surprisingly simple. But before we get into how, you need to understand the powerful whys. First, you need to understand that the modern restaurant, that you're not just a customer in anymore. You have to remember that. You're a data point. And in many ways, your data is more valuable than the profit margin on your steak, right? So when you pay the old-fashioned way, cash or simple card swipes, the restaurant learns almost nothing. They know someone spent $150 on Tuesday night. That's it. You're a ghost in their records. But when you pay invisibly using one of these systems that I'm about to show you, you're no longer anonymous. Suddenly, the restaurant knows your name, your email, and that this is the fourth time that you've been here this year, or in some situations, this month. They know you always order the Cabernet and prefer a booth. They know that you come on Tuesdays and traditionally on a slower night where you're not overworking them and you get better quality service. This is going to be the holy grail of modern business: first party data, information that you're willing to give them. And with this information, they can do incredible things with it. They can email you the next Tuesday when a special is on a new steak dish. They can invite you to an exclusive Cabernet tasting. They can notice that you haven't been in for a while and automatically send you a "we miss you" discount to lure you back in. Just turns you from a one-time transaction into a predictable revenue stream. It's the difference between selling one fish and owning the fucking pond. And AI can analyze this data to predict future business, optimizing staffing, and even reduce food waste by noticing that on a rainy Tuesday that there's a run on specific desserts. Steven says, my friend went to Japan recently, and there's a very little human contact. You scan barcodes and pay with the phone over there a lot. Yeah, these guys over there, they know what they're doing over there. They can push a button and just have stuff sent to the house. There's so much stuff going on over there that, man, I have not been, but I just want to go to experience what it's like not to be treated like shit for a reasonable period of time, right? At an affordable rate, no less. I don't have to be Donald Trump rich to be respected as a human being. It's crazy, right? But having the capabilities, and then I got like I got the S23. It's a clunky, big, what was it, the Defender Pro phone case, so it doesn't have as much like touch whatever. You got to take the phone out the phone case to touch it to things. But these days they have other cell phones that are more NFC friendly, that allows for digital transactions to happen through the phone case. That's better for you because it makes bill pay with the online Samsung wallet or Apple wallet more effective for you, but it is more dangerous for you because if you forget to turn off your NFC, your ability to allow transactions to happen through your phone is the ability for somebody to clone your phone and steal all your stuff off of your phone if your phone has that capabilities to be scanned by an external device. So I like the technology benefits, but I hate the hacker benefits that come with it. So, being able to scan the barcode is effective. Because, and you know that there's going to be a hacker that's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna put up this barcode. Like y'all have seen on social media that the dude puts up the barcode for the Wi-Fi, and then somebody will scan the barcode for the Wi-Fi and puts up a picture of a monkey giving a middle finger to somebody. Like, people can put up barcodes that could completely snatch you all your money. But if you're getting the barcode directly from the establishment and then you hold on to the barcode and you use the barcode for yourself, I mean, you're less likely to get hacked on it. And I think that that's more effective because you're able to push a button, you're able to scan something, and transactions happen instantaneously. But in Japan and South Korea and stuff like that, people have no problem with paying for other people. In fact, the hierarchy that they have there is that the older people pay for the younger people, and the younger people respect the older people and take the advice of the older people. So in exchange for your obedience, I will compensate for you. That's kind of the dynamic that they have there. So whenever if and as much as if I'm 3 months or 6 months older than you, I'm the leader of the group. If I'm a year or two older than you, I'm the leader of the group. Everybody takes my advice. I dictate wisdom to everybody, but traditionally, because I'm the oldest one in the group, typically it's going to fall on me, especially if somebody doesn't have it, right? Which allows for everybody else to take my sage advice, but then also save their resources to make themselves more successful. But if it was a dynamic where might have been the youngest person in the group, uh, I would be obedient and submissive to the older guys in the group, and that guy would pay for me. So what do you think? What do you think I would do in Japan? Be the middleman, older than some, but not the oldest. I can still give some advice, but the check's on him. But realistically speaking, though, um, the dynamic of their ability to catch it, to catch the bill over there, and not have an issue, it's one of the things that I long to go over there and experience that. But but here in America, there's also a deep psychological and operational driver that's involved. First, you're going to have the trust restoration that we've lost in America, because trust is not earned, it's given. And people don't believe that. They believe that trust is earned. But you can't think of a time where somebody earned your trust before you gave them something that you had to trust them with. The first time you give somebody your car, you've never seen them drive, so how can you trust them with your car? They didn't drive your car with you before they took your car without you. They just really needed a car, and your trust of them being a friend of yours, or trust of you knowing who they were, if they were a colleague or somebody in the neighborhood, an associate in the neighborhood, you just let them take your car and hope that they bring it back. And once they bring your car back in good condition, and sometimes with gas in it, you now can trust them to borrow your car in the future. Again, when you let somebody babysit your kid for the first time, you don't know if they're not going to kill your kid. You hope that they're going to not kill your kid. And then if your kid is still alive when you get back, you can trust them to watch your kid a second time. So no, trust is given. It is not earned. Higher levels of trust and higher levels of respect is earned based on past performance. Trust and respect is typically maintained. It's initially given because there's a mutual level of respect, there's a mutual level of trust, and it's initially given. And then higher levels of respect is based on job title, social status. Higher levels of trust is based off of social status, it's based off of experience. That's when you start getting the higher levels of trust. But it's not something that you earn. You got to maintain it. And if you fuck it up, once the trust is destroyed, it is unable to be rebuilt to the magnitude that it was originally. When you peak at trust and you do something to devalue that trust, you are no longer trustable to the level that you once were. They will always have doubt in you, even if they still allow you to maintain the things that they trusted you with before. Just like with an affair, if you cheat on your spouse, they are not going to trust you to be loyal, but they're going to trust that you're going to stay in a marriage. So the longer that you stay in the marriage, the longer they don't dwell on the last affair, but the next time you start doing shady shit, they're going to immediately 20 years later go back to that affair from 20 years ago. Well, you've cheated before, so how was I supposed to know, right? Because you're never going to rebuild the trust back to its peak levels once you defy routine behavior. So you got to understand that. So first thing we're going to have here is trust. The traditional payment model exists because restaurants historically view diners as potential thieves. But pre-linked payment methods reserve this assumption, treating you as a trusted patron, not as a suspect. So instead of them hovering around your table towards the end of the meal to prevent you from running out on the check, they've already got your information before the meal started. They don't have to give a shit about where you go. They're going to either get you or get their money out of you. So you go from being a suspect to being an actual patron. Next, the second driver is service staff liberation. When payment happens automatically, servers are freed from the time-consuming ritual of bringing the check and processing multiple cards for split bills and making return slips. um, and then bringing all that shit back to the table. This allows them to focus on true hospitality rather than transaction processing, which is essentially valuable on a busy night. But the most powerful driver is removing the friction. Behavioral economists call it the pain of paying, that real discomfort that we feel when we part with our money. Handing over a crisp $100 bill actually hurts. Even swiping a card has friction. Invisible payments almost completely eliminate this pain. Classic research from MIT famously showed people are willing to pay up to 100% more for something with a credit card versus cash. More recent studies confirm the trend, with one finding that about half of consumers say they spend more when checking out is fast and frictionless. You don't notice how much you're spending a lot of the time when you're charging everything to the card. So when a restaurant encourages you to just walk out, they're making a calculated bet. They're trading the clunky ceremony of bill paying for a seamless experience because they know that you're statistically more likely to spend more money, visit more often, and become a loyal customer whose habits they can monetize for years. It's a brilliant trade. And now I get to show you guys how to be on the winning side of it. Before we get to the high-tech apps, let's start with a few low-tech social engineering hacks that you guys can use almost anywhere in a sit-down restaurant tonight. And I'm going to tell you guys, legal warning, this is the most important part of tonight's section of the show. So I want you to listen up. The difference between what we're doing and the crime of dine and dash is explicit authorization. Walking out without arranging payment is going to be theft, and depending on the bill, it can be a misdemeanor or a felony with fines and jail time involved. In California, for example, they raised it to where if the bill is under $950, it's a misdemeanor that can carry up to 6 months in jail and an additional $1,000 fine on top of the restitution of taking the money or taking the stuff. Over $950, it can become a felony. We are not doing that. We are getting the restaurant's consent to be billed in an invisible way. Never ever leave without securing the consent first. So you're going to establish before the visit or before you leave the visiting of the restaurant how compensation is going to work out. Like Steven said, that he had an establishment with a local bar that he used to go to where throughout the week he would go there and drink as much as he wanted, and then on Friday he would settle whatever bill was there for the whole week. That meant that every night, no matter how much he drank, he could stagger out of the building, just hop in whatever card is taking him home, and then show up sober on Friday and cover the tab for the week. It's the same mentality. He had the legal authorization from the establishment in order to walk out the night of the transaction and not be arrested for it. That's the difference, okay? So this is going to be the go-to when we're out with friends or family. We want to treat them without that awkward grab for the bill. It makes you look like a VIP if you're doing this kind of stuff. So I want you guys to pay attention. Here's how it works. If you arrive a little bit of time before your guests do, especially if you're not carpooling everybody around, because you want to chauffeur everybody. One of the other ways that you can do this is, for you to let them go sit down at the table and then you stray away from the main table. You can make an excuse that you're going to the restroom or whatever, but make your way back to the front of the restaurant and have this conversation separate from the rest of your table. Either way it goes, you want to take some time away from your guests. Go to the host or the manager and give them some calm, confident information like, good evening, I have a reservation or my table's over there. give them your name. I'm hosting tonight, and I'd like to handle the bill now, right? I want you to take my card, keep it on file. When we're done, don't bring the check to the table. Just add a 20% tip automatically and close us out. Is that okay? Right? Now, by doing this, by guaranteeing that the waitress or waiter that comes to your table is going to get 20%, they're expected to give you heightened levels of service because you're going to tip them 20% on whatever the hell is going to happen. Now, most mid to high end restaurants are going to be happy to agree with this. The low end ones, maybe not. I don't know how much you're going to get. But they don't have a problem with the waitress or waiter keeping your credit card in their pocket, though, and then charging it at the end of the night. You're making their job easier, and you're guaranteeing the good tip. Usually, they're going to take your card and make a note on your reservation. Now, for the match, you enjoy your meal. When it's time to go, there's no bill, there's no folder, there's no pen. You just say, well, this was wonderful. Shall we? And then you get up and walk out. Your guests are going to be amazed at this. The payment is handled invisibly in the background. Now, I'm going to tell you guys, first and foremost, know the cap of your crowd. If you're planning on spending $100 a person, you know that you're going to have 10 people coming. That's about $1,000 with a 20% tip. You're looking at about $200. That's a $1,200 charge plus taxes, roughly $1,300. You're leaving a credit card with the establishment that should be able to cover $1,500 at the most, right? If you leave them with a $2,500 card, that's it, right? And then you're going to do what you got to do. After you finish with the people, you're going to make your way back to the restaurant and collect your card another time, right? If you frequent this restaurant, the manager might keep your card on file and actually keep it in the office. And then when you go to work, when you go to the restaurant on the days when that manager works, that manager knows who you are. If this is your routine, that they're going to charge 20% on top of whatever's going to happen. They're going to, how you doing first name, they know who you are when you walk into this restaurant. They're just going to immediately sit you, which ultimately you're going to get special service, because if they know that you're going to do top dollar behavior, when you're walking in, you're going to take care of the restaurant, then you're going to walk out. You're not going to have friction with the restaurant. You're not going to have to wait like other customers because you're going to be a VIP status because you're a regular, right? So this benefits you in a lot of ways. But when you pull this off, almost nobody does this. A lot of the times, guys will rush to the girl's house to go pick up the girl and then drive the girl to the restaurant and then wait like a commoner. Get to the table and then wait like a commoner. Get the check. And then when the check comes to the table, the quicker the guy takes the check and pays for the check, the quicker the girl believes, well, he's not a broke ass dude. If we're in a situation where a feminist model starts showing up, now the debate over who's going to pay the check turns out. If you're going to be that guy that's going to cash the check regardless of if she's a bad date or not, and you went to the restaurant before the situation happens, even if you pass by the restaurant on your way to go pick up the girl, put your card on file, say, hey, I got a reservation at 7 o'clock, it's 6, I'm going to get my date now. I'm going to get my date now, I'll be back, but I want to go ahead and keep the card on file. Don't bring the check to the table. I'll add a 20% tip. I'll come back and get my card tomorrow, whatever, and leave it with the manager, and they'll work it out. Then you leave from the restaurant, go pick up your date. You bring your date to the establishment. You do what you got to do. You get up, you walk out. They've got your card. They're going to charge it. You're going to leave. It's good. They got the 20%. You're going to come and pick up your credit card tomorrow, and you can pick up your credit card with the receipt tomorrow. And it's all good, right? So in doing that, you would be able to impress your date because your date's going to be like, oh shit, like we walked in, they sat us without a problem, they took care of us, and the bill is done already. And we're walking out. She's going to be confused. Like, we're not going to get in trouble. It's like, no, it's already taken care of. That's a classy play, right? This is a variation for when you want to pay for a group discrete, completely avoiding the bill splitting power dynamic. It just requires a bit of time. You know, early in the meal, maybe when a server brings you drinks, you catch their eye, you hand them your card. You can tell them, hey, just a heads up, whenever we're done, you can just run this. I'll pop over to the restroom before we leave to sign it privately, right? I just want to avoid the bill ceremony at the table. Again, the server appreciates this. Later, as the meal winds down, you can excuse yourself, find your server, sign the slip quickly near the station, and return to the table. When everyone else is ready to go, you've already paid. This is what you can do not only in a mid and upscale restaurant, but this is what you can do in a low scale restaurant. If you're at a McDonald's or not at McDonald's because they pay at the register, but like say IHOP, Waffle House, Chili's, something like that, Applebee's, something like that, TGI Fridays, you can do something like this where you can just on your way into the restaurant, you can excuse yourself from the table to go wash your hands, right? And then go and communicate with your waiter or waitress at the near the kitchen, set the situation up, and then towards the end of the meal, you excuse yourself to go to the bathroom, and then you go to the table and you go over there and sign for the check. Since they know what this is about, you're gonna get up and go to the bathroom towards the end, and you're gonna go and sign the check. They have your credit card, so they know that the bill's gonna get paid, so they don't got to worry about you walking out, which means they're gonna treat you better, right? And you can still tell them, hey, put a 20% tip down there for yourself. I'll just come over and sign it, and we'll be good to go, right? Now, if you just stand up and walk out, the transaction is invisible to your guests. Everything's done. Don't worry about it. I already took care of it. This is for the true regulars, right? Now, next one I'm going to give you, if you frequent a local coffee shop, neighborhood bar, like we talked about with Steve, you can build a friendship that takes this to the next level. After you've become familiar face, you find the owner or the manager during the quiet time. He says something like, hey, I'm here for a few times a week, and I would love to streamline this. Could we set up a house account? You can keep my card on file and just charge me at the end of the week, or once my tab hits, say $100. Small independent businesses are often open to this. It guarantees them repeat business and builds community. For you, the benefit is ultimately convenience because you walk in, you get your coffee, you say, put it on my tab and walk out. The money moves later in a single invisible batch. While those social hacks are great, the real revolution is happening when the palm of your hand starts taking action. Apps are now specifically built to create this walk out and pay experience. Apps like OpenTable and Resi, which you might already use for booking things, are increasingly integrating payment features. The mechanism is brilliant. You add a credit card to your profile when you make a reservation, and when you dine at a participating restaurant, the server sees you're a pay with OpenTable customer, right? At the end of the meal, instead of printing a bill, they just close out your table on their system. The app automatically charges your card on file, including a tip that you can preset yourself. You get a notification on your phone, your bill has been paid. That's it. You can stand up and leave the second that you're ready. The restaurant turns tables faster, and you skip that awkward ritual. A second category of apps is less about reservations and more about securing discounts. Services like Seated, for example, have you book through their platform. After your meal, you upload a photo of your receipt, and the app gives you a percentage of your spending back in rewards. While you still technically pay at the table, a chunk of the payment is invisibly returned to you later. which gives you the ability to spend a little bit more when you're going out. The more advanced version of this involves linking your credit card to an airline or hotel dining program. When you use that linked card at a participating restaurant, you automatically earn bonus points or miles without doing anything extra. This is going to be the next level up, especially for the business diners. Corporate accounts on platforms like Seamless allow employees to order within preset dollar limits without reimbursement hassles. And you can take this a whole nother level with your LLC and have your family members on preset dollar limits without hassles. The billing happens directly between the restaurant and the company, eliminating expense reports. Simultaneously, restaurant groups are building their own sophisticated mobile apps. Research shows that a huge majority of diners are more likely to use an app-based loyalty program. These apps are the ultimate data gathering tools. They often include a pay from your phone feature. You check in, open a table, close it out on your device. The elite part is researching top tier status. At the highest levels, once you reach that area, you might get exclusive reservations or complimentary appetizers applied automatically. Your payment becomes more than a transaction, it is an act that reinforces your status in the restaurant. To truly get why the bill freeze is so awful and why invisible payments feel so revolutionary, we need to look back. That anxiety is the legacy of a deeply flawed 150-year-old American system, which is tipping. Tipping, as we know it, wasn't some timeless tradition. It was imported from aristocrats in Europe in the late 1800s by wealthy Americans who wanted to feel fancy, but it was met with fierce resistance. People saw it as an un-American and undemocratic stance. At one point, 7 states actually passed laws to abolish tipping. So what happened? Well, the practice exploded after the Civil War for a deeply cynical reason. The restaurant and railway industries wanted to hire newly freed Black workers without paying them a living wage. They lobbied to crush the anti-tipping movement, arguing that they should be allowed to pay these workers almost nothing, forcing them to survive on customer generosity alone. It was a system designed from the ground up to exploit labor. And this legacy was written into law. In 1966, Congress created the tip credit, legally allowing employers to pay tipped workers a sub-minimum wage. That federal sub-minimum wage for tipping workers has been frozen at a shocking $2.13 per hour since 1991. Now, the rule is that if tips don't bring the employee's total earning up to the full minimum wage level, the employer of that employee must make up the difference. So if you're getting paid $2.13 an hour and minimum wage is $10 an hour, and you're not making enough tips to meet that $10 an hour wage, then your employer is supposed to cover the spread. But the premise is going to remain: the customer is responsible for the bulk of the wage. But this is going to be the source of the stress, which is often compounded by gender roles. The bill paying moment carries extra weight rooted in traditional etiquette where men were expected to pay. Even today, studies show that while norms are shifting, a majority of people still believe that men should pay for the dates, and a significant number of men feel guilty accepting women's money, creating a psychological double bind. Technology offers psychological liberation from this by removing the human negotiation entirely. There's no need to perform assertiveness or generosity through the bill requesting ritual. For anyone with social anxiety, it provides empowerment by removing the interpersonal pressures. The dining experience can end naturally rather than requiring a social performance. If you think QR codes are the end of the line, You're just seeing the start of it. Like Stephen was talking about the QR codes in Japan. We are on the cusp of ambient commerce where payment dissolves completely into the background. The next frontier is paying with your body. Not like that. This isn't science fiction. It's happening right now. Chains like Steak and Shake and Whataburger have been piloting facial recognition payments. You enroll once by linking a selfie to your payment method. From then on, a camera at the checkout simply recognizes you and charges your card. The security for restaurants is the automatic link to loyalty. The system sees you, applies your points, and processes payments in a seamless step. Amazon's Amazon One technology, which scans the unique vein pattern in your palm, works similarly. Imagine walking into a cafe, grabbing a pastry, and just waving your hand over a scanner as you walk out. This is where we're headed. I know y'all seen this. There was a true in game is the tech pioneered by Amazon Go stores, which was a sophisticated web of camera sensors and AI tracks that follow you and the items that you select. So when you leave, the system automatically builds your account. And y'all seen this online where you just walk into the store, there's no employees, there's no cash register. You just walk in, grab something, walk out, and whatever left the building with you, you get charged for it. There's no stuffing it in your pocket and leaving. Whatever item you took off the shelf, once you leave the store, you're billed for it. Now, imagine this in a restaurant. In maitre d recognized as you, AI maitre d recognizes your face, right? So like an artificial server sees your face. Your orders are tracked by an ambient sensor network. When you're finished, you don't scan anything. You just walk out. Notification on your phone confirms the payment a minute later. This allows for hyper personalizations on a scale never seen before. The system knows your dining history, your preferences, and your allergies, which is very important, and can feed that to the staff to create a bespoke experience. The restaurant of the future isn't just serving you, it's anticipating your arrival. Now, the invisible world is seductive. Everybody's going to love it because we don't have to deal with the frustrations of doing it ourselves. It's a fast, cool, and very innovative way that makes you feel very powerful, very elite. But when something feels as easy, there's always a hidden cost. The first risk that we have to experience with something like this, which is why I told you that when you're doing something like this, you have to have a card with a specific limit on it. And specifically, a limit that you're willing to tolerate. Now, you want to put you like a $300 card on file for transactions under $300. You're not going into this restaurant and spending more than $250. That card exclusively for this restaurant, right? You might have 50 or 75 credit cards that all are attached to different accounts for different reasons, and all of them are $250 and $300 credit cards. But you know that if you got a $250 credit card at a Starbucks, nobody's buying $250 worth of fucking Starbucks, right? Typically $50 at the most for a group, right? But one of the first risks is going to be the bottomless wallet. The biggest risk that we have with this particular method is going to be overspending. When we're removing the pain of paying, this is going to be a double-edged sword because the psychological friction is also a natural break on your spending. When you don't see the money leaving, it's incredibly easy to lose track of how much of it is gone. That extra cocktail or appetizer doesn't feel real. The transaction becomes a blind spot, fostering an illusion of liquidity. Like when You take people out on a date and they're spending all your money. They're ordering all of this expensive shit because they don't have to pay for it. If the check was on her, she probably wouldn't order as much. The numbers are clear here. A significant number of people, especially younger generation, admit that digital payments makes it easy to spend more money without even realizing. These are leaders. Yes. Special shout out to Max Pugh. Make sure that you behave today. Because without appropriate behavior, you will find yourself in another timeout. Oh, hold on a second. Yeah. The second risk, surveillance economy. You guys gotta love this one. The second risk is going to be privacy. You got to remember all that wonderful data that the restaurant is collecting about you. It lives on a server, creating a detailed profile of your habits and your social circle. In a world of biometric payments, this gets more acute. Now, your face or your palm print is going to be the key. While companies insist this data is encrypted and secure, every database is a target. So a breach could expose your entire dining history and not just your customers, your products that you purchase. Risk number 3 is going to be the human cost. So perhaps the most overlooked risk is going to be the impact on the people serving you. Because while these systems can secure a server's tip, they also create new problems. A system error or a customer falsely disputing a charge can lead to financial losses. And who often bears the brunt of that? In places, servers can still be held responsible for walkouts or errors with the cost deducted from the wages of the server. A practice that is illegal in some states but still happens. This advanced system still rests on a fragile, exploitative foundation of the servers that are serving the people. So when the tech fails, the most vulnerable person often pays that price. So, how do you navigate this world safely? You need to reintroduce your own friction. First, set up transaction alerts on your phone. The buzz is crucial. It's going to be a psychological feedback that lets you know the transactions are occurring. Pay attention to those push notifications. Second, you want to use virtual credit card numbers for these apps whenever possible. And you want to use one that is not your primary credit card. You want to use one that allows you to have the ability to interact with other people and other I told you to behave, buddy. You're doing too much. Yeah, I'm real close. I'm looking at what you're doing right now. You're about to make me hit that button on you, buddy. So what I was saying was using virtual credit cards whenever possible. You want to use virtual credit cards that are not your primary users. You want to use your virtual credit cards that have max limits on them, that are very low limits, so that those cards cannot be exploited by other individuals. Third, you want to set a monthly dining budget and then track it in a separate app, separate from the one that your account is attached to. You want to create your own pain of paying by forcing yourself to look at the numbers. not just read your bank statements at the end of the month. And then finally, you want to remember the human element. Just because the payment is invisible doesn't mean that the service is. So you have to make sure that regardless of what you do, that you always go out and show respect to your servers. You want to make sure that you go out there and put forth the extra effort to show value to your servers, because as we've all come to notice and recognize is that even in the higher tier elite status locations, the wealthy pay attention to how well you treat the help. If you treat the help with the utmost respect, you are going to be socially perceived as a more valuable individual, a more respected individual than an individual that disrespects and devalues the help. Typically, people who come from a service history where you grew up as a server or a waiter or a bus boy or something like that, you would remember that a lot of these things, yeah, you did it. I tried to warn you. Um, he keep playing. Now, anyway, what I was saying was you have um, the ability to show respect to the help and show respect to the individuals that come to the table. That way, you're able to recognize what it was like when you were there in the past and be able to show them that gratitude and that appreciation, because we already know that most people get paid half or less than half of minimum wage. And since that's the case, you only short the server when the server doesn't do their job. You're not supposed to, a lot of people do, you don't have your server negatively impacted by the cook's performance. However, it is the server's responsibility to look at that and say, hey, I don't want my customer to get that. And then that server come to the table and say, hey, the cook did something wrong with your food. I'm making sure that it's done correctly, so it's going to be a little bit of a delay. If they caught my dissatisfaction before it got to my table, even though the food got delayed because it ended up being a remake, I'm still going to give the server the utmost respect, because when my food got to the table, I was satisfied with it. You know what I mean? And likewise, if my cup was never empty, if my refills always came when they needed, if everything that I was looking for happened in a timely fashion to the best of service ability, they did their best. They should get the best quality tip, right? So 20% is reasonable for that level of service, right? And if they're pre-bussing where I don't have a bunch of dishes stacked on my table like I'm in the kitchen, then that's even better, right? So I might say standard 20% on the credit card and then still put another $5 or $10 on the table where they get tipped in cash and get tipped in credit. Either way, you want to make sure that you show respect for the table. Now, if you pull this off, and let's say that you're doing this and you're in an elite group, and you got to know the restaurant that you're going to. You got to know the quantity of individuals that's coming to the event. And based on the quantity of individuals that's coming to the event, you got to be able to have the capital to cover. But when you do cover, you want to make sure that if you can cover everybody, that you cover everybody. You know what I mean? But you're covering everybody ahead of time. So if you're coming on a reservation for your homeboy, Stan, Eminem Stan, if you're going to cover on your homeboy Stan, that's fine. You get there a little bit before them. You look at what's going on. You put down a credit card that has the limit that can cover what these people might order, and then you close out the tab, and you walk out of the restaurant. In a scenario where you are financially at the bottom of the group of wealthy people that you're hanging out with, and you're at least one time out of all the times that you go out with them, you're able to cash the check before the people sat at the table, you're going to see a whole lot more respect from them, because you're going to be treated more as an equal and less as a charity case or a liability, because wealthy people have no problem with doing a charity for you, but then your entire relationship, you're a dependent. So you're going to get treated differently as a dependent. Even as a man, you're going to get treated differently as a dependent than what you would as an equal. Your opinion isn't always important when you're there on their dollar. If you're only there based on their reputation and your dollars is getting you everywhere they're getting them, there's a little less of a different dynamic there, right? So when we started today's show, we started with a simple act, walking out of a restaurant without paying a check. But this act sits at the intersection of technology, psychology, and a century and a half of history. Paying invisibly is a conscious choice to redesign your dining experience. It's about trading your data for the convenience, using tech to sidestep social anxiety, and taking control of the most stressful part of the meal. You get to feel like a VIP, you get to look like VIP, you're saving time, and you're impressing your friends and company that you keep with you. The restaurant gets a loyal customer whose habits that they can use to build a smarter business. Even if you went to one of those all-you-can-eat buffets, they know that you're going to come in and you're going to do X, Y, and Z. You put your card on file, they just VIP and let you come in. You're good to go. If you're not one of those individuals that debates the bill every time it gets charged, and you're good, right? On the surface, everyone is going to win, but the power is going to come with responsibility. The responsibility to be aware of how these systems affect your spending. You have to protect your privacy and to remember the human beings whose livelihood are still tied to the complex dance of making sure that your transactions get processed. The future of dining is here. The money is already moving invisibly in the background, and the only question is whether you want to be the one directing it. So the next time that you're out, give it a try. Pre-authorize your card with the host before your company arrives. Download one of the apps. Experience what it feels like to just stand up and walk out of a restaurant legally without having to see or sign for the transaction. Even in restaurants where they need your signature, you left your card with them. Charge my card, I'll come back and get it in the morning, or I'll come back and get it later this week. And then in those dynamics, you've charged a transaction, you left your credit card with them, you come back a few days later to have another meal, and you're signing for the dinner from the time before. They still got your card. You establish a dynamic where outside of when I'm going to eat, the bill is already secured, right? Now, again, this is going to work more often than not with a card that is exclusively dedicated to that behavior pattern. Because if you have a card that you're using for something else and you charge something over here and then you charge this meal and you don't have enough, the card declines, this relationship gets damaged. Because now they're going to call you, you got to answer, you got to hurry down, you got to pay so that they don't report the dine and dash, this, that, because now they got your credit card information, they know where you live, the police is going to come knock on the door. So you got to make sure that you do this the right way, right? But it does take a lot of responsibility, but this type of responsibility builds character and it sets up leadership. He says, I'd rather prepay with cash because I don't trust people with my card. Well, you can do prepaying with cash comes at a disadvantage, but prepaying with cash is actually safer. Prepaying with cash requires you to estimate how much is going to get spent at the table, and then assume that anything over that is going to be a tip. Now, if you're doing this with yourself, where let's say you're going to go to a restaurant, it's like $25 plus drinks. You're probably going to get 2 or 3 drinks at the table plus your dinner, might be $30, $40 with taxes. Here's $50, keep the change, right? That's fine. When you're doing this with the group though, maybe you and 2 others, you would have to overestimate and say, well, I know my friends, I know they're typically going to order $50 a person. They might do a little bit more tonight because I'm paying. You know what kind of friends you got if you got friends that like to do too much. And in that dynamic, you will see um, the opportunity to say, well, I'm going to put up 300 because there's three of us, $100 a person. Then you put up the $300 in cash, and then you're listening to what everybody's asking for, and you're looking at what the totals are. And you're like, all right, as soon as they start getting right around like 250, 275, you start saying, well, I want to leave that extra $25 as a tip for the waiter in your mind. So you're telling your friends, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and cut you guys off and wrap things up. And at that dynamic, you've covered for the server, and the server still got their tip. Now you've got other assholes that want to continue ordering shit. You set a limit. You tell the waiter, hey, here's 300. 250 of it is mine, 50 of it is yours. Keep the change. Anybody that orders above that is not on my tab. You can make that clear as well. But you're paying for yourself, and up to $250 worth of stuff, you're gonna give 300 bucks. They got a $50 tip on the table, which is a lot of money, but it covers the taxes and everything. And then keep the change. You can still do that. You can still walk in and pay with cash. You know what I mean? But you're still making it clear that anything over that 300 bucks, you got to go talk to the other people at the table. I am going to get up and walk out on the 300 bucks that I paid for, right? Now, the concern that I have with this behavior pattern is, in order for you not to get tied up with everybody else with what wasn't paid for, is that you still have to have a receipt. You have to have proof that you prepaid for something, right? Now, long as you can get that, you're good. If you put a credit card on file, that's the one of the things that works with a credit card on file is that you can lock the card before the dinner, unlock the card during the dinner. They can charge the card that afternoon, and then tomorrow you look at your credit card, because most credit cards have online banking options where you can check the amount on the card, and then you can just lock the card. And when you lock the card, there's nothing there, right? You're satisfied with the amount that they charged on the card. You lock the card back. Now you just got to go back and collect the card. If they still have it, it doesn't matter what they do with the card as long as the card is locked. A lot of credit cards now have a button on the app where you can just lock the card where no transactions can occur. So if you went to the restaurant an hour before your friends, you dropped off the card and say, hey, charge $200, $250 of tonight towards the card. And let's say you wanted to do the 20% tip, but 20% tip on $250, that's going to be $50 tip. It's a $250 on the card for the meal, $50 for the server. And that is the end of my bill. Anybody who orders anything over this amount, go get them. But you got my card, that's it. You can do that. That'll work. You still have the ability, if they order less than 250 bucks, the server's going to get their 20% tip. They're going to charge your card. You're going to see the transaction on the card tonight or in the morning, because they typically are going to run your credit card before the restaurant closes. So if the restaurant closes at 11 or 12, you're going to see that charge in your account by 2 o'clock in the morning. You're going to see a pending transaction, at least for the dollar amount for the bill, not the tip. And then you're going to see the adjustment once it processes 3 days later. The next day or a few days later, when you're passing by the restaurant, hey, I'm coming to pick up my card, right? You got situations like, I had a storage unit that had my credit card, like literally they wrote it down and they kept it on file. And instead of me having to drive down to the storage unit and pay for the storage unit, I would just call them in the middle of the night, leave a message on their voicemail and say, hey, such and such, unit on file, charge it to the card, this many months. That's it. I call them in the middle of the night on a Saturday. When they answer the phone, check their voicemails. Oh man, the client called, told us to charge this many months to their account. They charge it to the card. I see the transaction on my credit card. All I ask them is to email me an invoice, which you can do with the prepaid situation with cash. Email me an invoice or a receipt of the $250, $300 that you charge me. That way, When the police is called because the other guys are being an asshole, no sir. In my email, I have digital proof that I gave them $300. So what's not paid, that's on them. And that protects you from dishonest friends in your network. But as I've talked to you guys before, if we're improving who we are, we're improving the people that we're around. We're less likely to in our older years involve ourselves with lower quality people that are not going to be trustworthy, that are going to be manipulative and abuse our generosity. And we're going to disassociate ourselves with people that'll take advantage of an open check. We're going to disassociate ourselves with the type of females that are going to take advantage of an open check. You know, because if I tell you like T.I., you can get whatever you like, you should be as reasonable as you would have if this was your fucking money. Not, I want the left side of everything. I want the most expensive everything because this might be the last time I get to experience this type of experience. No, I want within reason. If I'm not going to eat all of that, I want within reason. Like I done seen on some of these social media platforms where they going out on the first date and the chick is ordering food for her kids. I don't even know your kids, ma'am. You are not buying groceries for your child on your first date with me. That ain't my child. You know, at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you cover your kids. Now, you can order whatever the hell you want, but I am only going to pay for me and potentially you. That's it. Everybody else that is not sitting at this table is not getting nothing, right? And for the female that brought the kid to the table, oh, you want to date with him? We ain't together. This is a separate check. Which again is a scenario. They got your card on file. You wave to the server and say, hey, just me, not them, whatever. And they know, hey, I'm only paying for just me. That's it. And then when you cover it all and you excuse yourself and walk out, when you walk out, all the shit that she ordered still sitting on the table. Now, it is what it is. You got to make sure that you look out for yourself. But I do agree, like paying cash puts a stop to the limit of what can happen. But even if, for example, like Amscot has a preloaded credit card. Yeah, it does have a little service fee to load the card or whatever, but Amscot has a preloaded credit card. You can do preloaded debit cards, and you can do that. It's just like cash, where PayPal has that option as well with the prepaid accounts, where you put money on the account and make the account the primary payer of the transactions, where you can dispute through PayPal certain transactions. It doesn't work as well with Cash App because Cash App is not monitored. But if you went somewhere and got you a prepaid credit card or a gift card or whatever the case may be, and you use that, you have the capabilities of still putting a card on file so that you don't carry cash with you. You know that there's a limit because what this card has, that's all it has. And once they spend that, that's it, right? And then you tell the server, hey, this is how much is on the card. 20% of that is your tip. Anything above that is on the other people. That covers the whole spread, right? Now, we spent a lot of time today going over a lot of information that helps you guys understand how we can avoid having to cash a check at the end of an event or an activity. Later on in the month, we're going to be covering why we shouldn't be covering a check at all on the first date and going over some dynamics of that, which is going to be a very deep discussion. Like I said before earlier in tonight's show, there is a lot of stuff that we've got for the next 2 months, because I think we went as far out like the middle of June. Our Mondays and Tuesdays are not up there, but our Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturdays and Sundays are up there. So make sure that you guys like and subscribe when you're going through those. And then you will see when you hit the membership, not the membership, when you hit the notification button on those shows, you should get notified for all the shows that you hit that notification button on. Since I've got like a month and a half worth of shows set up, you should see me being able to add a lot more information into the membership, which catches up on the last 3 weeks worth of stuff that I was supposed to put into the membership. plus any new information that I'm going to be putting into the membership for the month of May. So you might see like 6 weeks worth of stuff going into the membership over the next 4 weeks. So make sure that you guys stay tuned to that. I will keep you guys up to date on what's going on, because we're supposed to be covering on Monday how things is working with the bypass to the blockade, to see how well that is faring with Russia and China, and still being able to import export oils in spite of the U.S. blockade. So we're going to be covering that on Monday. And then we're supposed to be covering our cybersecurity and identity theft topic next Tuesday. But we do have a lot more stuff that we're going to be covering for the rest of the weekend, so I want to make sure that you guys stay tuned for that. Since that's all I have for you guys for tonight, I want to start off by saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. And then fellas, while this, I give you guys, he said, oh, on the membership, I can see all the posts on my Android on only the last 4 recently posted on my iPhone. Android is better than iPhone. You have to go into the membership and then go into, like, you have to go through this thing where it's like all messages and kind of see like everything that's up there. I have all Androids. I'm a big Samsung guy. I've been a Samsung guy since Nextel went out of business. So I don't really mess with iPhone. I have been considering getting an iPhone just so that I can kind of see what the difference is. But a lot of people have talked to me about the fact that if you don't have an iPhone, don't get one. And I used to be a firm believer of that anyway. So I noticed that Android is a lot more customizable. iPhone is user friendly, and user friendly means that it's automated for the stupidity. So you don't have to know how to use a computer to use an iPhone, but you do have to have some technological skills to be able to use an Android, because Androids are customizable down to the Linux coding that's accessible in some of these phones. So you have more visibility on certain apps. So a lot of your posts are going to be shown on, but you can probably on your iPhone go into your settings and change that. Change, because if you're talking about the post directly to the phone, you have some phones that have an override, like after a certain number of messages that it overrides the most outdated message. You have some phones that automatically delete after 30 days. You have some phones that like after the last 7 days, and that's like a feature in the phone itself. But as far as the YouTube app, you might get more visibility on the membership. You might get more visibility on the communication if you're going back with an Android. However, with all the stuff, because the channel itself, what another thing you have to do is, like, when you're scrolling, you have to scroll and scroll till it refreshes the scroll so that it pulls up archived information. But nothing is deleted out of the membership. Nothing is deleted out of the membership. Now, what I want to do when I have more time, maybe if I can get me a team in here to kind of help me do some of this work, is I wanted to create a secondary web page that is solely archivable for the membership, so that you guys can go into the membership website and then pull off all the information that I put up there. But I haven't figured out how to do that, because I kind of want it to be like a members only website, not just a free-for-all, because if you know that it's there, then you don't have to be in the membership. So I'm trying to figure out how to get that done, and I haven't quite figured out how to get that done. Members only access kind of situation, which requires me to create a website that has a lock on it, that requires me to give you a membership password for you to access it, kind of thing, from the people who are in the membership at YouTube, and then all the stuff will be on that web page. Once we get there, then it'll be a lot easier for you to access everything. But the way things are right now, yeah, you just continue to scroll. Now, if there's some information on the website in the membership right now that's on YouTube that you just can't find, but you know what's in there, just, hey, what happened to X, Y, and Z? And I'll repost it. I'll repost it for you. If I've posted it once, that means it's easy. I still got the original. So if I posted it once, you're like, hey, I was looking for X, Y, and Z, then I'll repost it again. Something from 3 years ago. If you don't see it, I'll repost it again, and that way you guys will have access to it. So never fear. There is always a workaround because I tell everybody on a regular basis that technology is your friend until it's not. And when it's not, that is the most inconvenient time. So I want you guys to make sure that you get what you need and then you have what you need. He says the Android lets me see everything easily. Yeah, I'm on it now because I'm not a fan of the iPhone. I freaking hate iPhone. Macintosh computers are better than Windows because there's less of them out there and not too many people trying to hack those. But iPhone's the most popular phone in the world, and it is the most targeted phone for hackers. There's so many variations of an Android to the fact that less often doesn't mean that it never happens, but less often is a hack because hackers want to have the most impact with the least amount of effort in the least amount of time. And to create a hack of some kind, to hack every Android and every variation of the software is harder to do than it is to just knock out iPhone because what's 60, 70% of people have an iPhone, right? But everybody who has an Android has a version of an Android, and they're not all using the same platform. So, I hate iPhone. He said first year with it, and the only advantage is I can talk to it while driving and have it make call. But bro, if you turn on, you have Android now, you have Bixby, and some phones have Cortana. It is annoying. But if you take the 15 to 20 minutes that it requires for you to set up the voice activation, and now a lot of the cell phones have the Hey Google situation. You can do a lot of stuff just by saying Hey Google and your phone will react and respond. You can do a lot of stuff by saying Hey Cortana and your phone will respond. You have a lot of stuff at Hey Bixby and your phone will respond. You just have to go through the annoyance of setting that up on your phone and then setting up the prompt words to get the phone to do what it needs to do, which again is one of the hands-free, user-friendly things that iPhone doesn't require. But because you can program it exclusively to your voice, it's going to be a lot more effective in a crowded room than what an iPhone would be. Because like in an iPhone, you can't say call so-and-so because there's too many people around you. With an Android, you can say call so-and-so with music playing in the background and it'll still make that call because it is specifically focused exclusively on your voice, not the background noise around you. But I mean, if the only feature that you have is like hands-free dialing, it's like if you had a Bluetooth headset and you're like, hey, hey Cortana, call, my brother. It's gonna pick up, the Bluetooth is gonna pick it up, and then the phone's gonna pick it up, and it's still gonna make a call. So, I can't buy a $1,600 phone for one feature. Because I just use the Android a lot. I just figured I'd let you know about that iPhone thing so that you were aware of it. I appreciate it, but unfortunately for me, I have no control over how the YouTube platform functions its membership. That's one of the reasons why I create external doc files and put a secured link into YouTube where you can click that link and go over to the doc file and get the information off of that. That way it is always accessible. So if you ever say, hey, remember that doc file about the girlfriend contract, where is it? I can just put the link back in there because that doc file still exists. I can just put the link back in there and you can go back and extract that information directly off of that doc file. Because I can't control how the formatting is on YouTube. I can't control how to, because it is technically a series of messages and screenshots. They don't expect you to turn YouTube into a full-on, fully functional website, which I think is dumb when you're telling you, hey, build your membership. Well, build my membership around it being able to get everything directly off of this platform. They can't. They have to get it from another platform. So now I have to get redirecting links to the source of information, which is one of the reasons why I said, well, shit, I need to have an exclusive website that I put into the membership that they can go to get all of this information. And that's one thing that I've been thinking about for a long period of time, which is one of the reasons why I need a team, because I need somebody to handle the back office stuff for the podcast. Then I need somebody to help me with the organic information to get more organic views in outside of ads. And then I need to put a lot more effort into organizing the website, collecting the data, maybe creating the ebooks, putting them up for sale so that the how-to versions of getting this stuff done, people will buy the ebooks and have the ability to get this stuff done in a more effective fashion. And I think that would be more beneficial, but that's like a long-term scenario. Right now, I'm trying to make this consistency last over everything. He said, I got the iPhone for 150 and 35 months on a friend's plan, so I did it. Well, you paid the taxes on the phone, and they're charging you $35 a month on your phone. So you're still paying the $1,600, but you're going to be paying for it over the course of 18 to 24 months on your homeboy's phone plan. So it doesn't impact you as much, because you're not because legally you're only supposed to pay like $7.99 for the phone in the United States, but because they put you in a no contract and they only make you pay the taxes, you've only officially paid $150 for the phone up front, but now they're charging on your phone bill an installment plan, which bypasses the law. You still paid $2,000 for the phone, because they're going to charge you for the phone and a little bit of interest on top of it, break your payments up. But that's what people do. See, for me, I'm like, nah, I'm not doing it. It said, reach out to college students and offer a non-paid apprenticeship. That could work. Put some flyers around the local universities. Yes, I would have to go to a local university and find a marketing team, not a marketing team, but have marketing college students and have them do that. That's actually a fantastic idea, Stephen. I need to look into doing that. You said $35 for the service. I paid him a year up, and I bought his old phone. Oh, well, that's different, because you bought his old phone. If you would have bought the phone from the store, they would have charged you the monthly payments, and they still could have had you paying $35 a month, and he got a free month service or free service for the phone. Because if it's like buy one phone, second phone free, third phone costs money kind of thing, the installment for buying the phone or putting a new phone on a thing, you might pay the $35 a month for the phone, because he has a $0 balance for the second line, and you've got a $35 installment plan. You still be paying $35 a month, but you'd be paying for the phone. But since you bought his phone from him for 150 bucks, you again, networking, you're able to get a perfectly good phone, a used phone, refurbished phone, and use that to do what you got to do with, and then only have to pay him $35 a month for your usage of his plan, because the second phone is always cheaper than the first phone. First phone is like $75, but usually the second phone is either $35 a month, or the second line is free, and the third line is $35 a month, something to that effect. When they have like these special prorated plans depending on the network that they have. But yeah, I did that with a buddy of mine. I added him onto my corporate account because I had a free line that I wasn't using, and I saved him. I told y'all the story about it. I saved him $100 a month on his phone, and I got his Netflix on my line. I mean, I use his Netflix, so I saved him more than that. I saved him like $140 a month. With his primary single phone plus his Netflix plus taxes, I saved him $140 a month. He still don't have enough money because he's financially responsible. But the fact is that I showed him, like, bro, I could save you like $140 a month, which ultimately saves you like $1,400 or $1,500 a year, and you still don't have enough money to do what you need to do in life, which means that you're making bad choices with your money. He said he got a free phone and added me to his mobile business plan. Right. Same thing. The same thing what I did. So he got another phone. He sold you his old phone. He added you to his plan, but his bill doesn't go up. So that's kind of how it works. And I had the same thing happen with my buddy. But you know, when you don't have to spend as much money on your phone bill, the money that you would have paid for the phone had you been paying it for yourself, the difference, you should take that and invest that, because that money would have come out of your discretionary spending anyway. And if you put that into your brokerage account, you start seeing more results. Um, Whenever you reorganize your budget and you're spending less money on your primary necessities, and you take the extra money that you would have spent, you put that somewhere else, you can find yourself in a situation where you have um, more money going into your brokerage account, and that benefits you all the way around. And I did a T-Mobile for Business scenario as well, because the corporate accounts make a lot of things work a lot better for those of us that are really trying to prioritize our services. So, and with a corporate account, you can have I got grandfathered into an account that used to be around where I paid for 3 phones. I got 5 phones and 3 internet devices, and it's like uh, right now it's like $300 a month for all of that. But we're about to make some changes on that and still be working around $250 a month, which is still, for the sake of the business, is still fantastically cheaper than paying $100 a month for 8 phones, 8 devices. So that's what I'm working on, minus car insurance and repairs. I have all my bills paid for the rest of the year. That's fantastic, which means that all the money that you're getting on your paycheck that's not going towards groceries should be going into your investment accounts. Outside of paying for that car note and paying for your car insurance and repairs, the rest of your money should be going directly to your brokerage account. And then when it's time for you to move up and move on, you should have a shit ton of money set aside to make that transition. Really requires dedication to your own personal growth, being able to find a place to set up like where you want to see your future, and then proactively putting forth the effort to get there, because it's really hard to have all of your bills paid up for the year, know that you have no further financial responsibilities for the rest of the year besides your gas, your maintenance, your car insurance, your car note, and not say, fuck it, I'll waste a little bit of money here and there because I deserve it, right? You have to have that diligence to say, well, even though I do deserve some things right now, their moderation is key. If I'm going to go out once a month and treat myself to a nice meal or something like that, then I'm going to set a budget for that. And then outside of that budget, I'm not going to waste any more money. The rest of my money is going to go somewhere else. House parties, trips, and all this other stuff, vacations, YOLO with the bros, or impressing females or whatever the case may be. Those things are not beneficial to us, specifically because we find ourselves wasting more money on the here and now entertainment. And it's a dopamine hit for today. It makes us feel good for the moment, but then when we go to pay that bill, that's when our soul drops. So the dopamine and euphoria that we had while we were having a good time with these people, it comes down to a crushing anxiety once we pay the tax. By the time you get home, you might have had a good night with this chick. You get home, and now all you're thinking about is how much money you just paid at the bar. It doesn't matter if you get laid tonight or not. What matters is that, fuck, I just spent X number of dollars, and that wasn't what I was planning on doing. And that's why we gotta readdress and rethink of how we do what we do. But yeah, so I'm gonna figure something out about trying to get a lot of this stuff together, as far as like having an organized place to put all of the stuff for this show. But I'm putting everything into the YouTube membership right now. And as soon as I get a different kind of website set up that I can link to the membership in YouTube, then I'll be able to go ahead and give you guys the YouTube information where y'all can log in and do your thing and get everything set up, and then have full access to all of the other stuff that's on there. So as soon as I figure out the right way to put that up, then I'll throw that in there, and that's going to be like grandfathered in for all members that are currently members. And then any new people who join into the membership will just get that information as I get them set up. So as the podcast grows, so should the membership, and as the membership grows, so will accessibility. Eventually, we'll start having like random drops and everything to that effect, and loyalty stuff for the members that's been lingering with us for long periods of time and stuff to that effect. We just gotta get there. And like I told y'all guys before, as we progress and improve, you guys will see that improvement. You guys will experience and feel that improvement, and that's how you guys should be growing right along with us by taking some of the information that we give you, doing your own research, and then applying the things that you directly can benefit from. And then you'll find yourselves not only benefiting from coming here, but also benefiting from your own proactive efforts. And as we make it to multi-million-dollar status, you guys should be making it to multi-million-dollar status as well. Now, life happens, so there's going to be things that's going to negatively impact our abilities to be successful. But we can navigate around those things by making different changes. We can control certain things, and we can improve things we don't like inside of the things that we can control. And the things that we can't control, we just got to do what we got to do to get around that, right? So with that being said, ladies, hey, y'all can take the information I give y'all, and y'all can use that to make yourselves higher value women too. So even though this is a male-driven podcast from the male's perspective, y'all can learn from what I got going on. This isn't gender exclusive, but this is designed to make men higher value men, not just by improving their income, but also improving their decision making. All I tell y'all is to focus on your 20 and 30-year plan. Where do you want to be at? Always go back and like at least every few months, every year or whatever, go back and look at your end goal and see how close you made it. Review everything you've already done, but have short-term goals, have like stair-stepper goals. Like what am I trying to get within the next 6 months? Where am I trying to be in the next 12 months? And reverse engineer like what all you got to do to get there, right? And understand that it might take you more than 6 months to get that 6 months goal. It might take you 18 months to get to that 6-month goal, but that's your 6-month goal, right? And that's one of the goals that you're trying to work on. So how do you get there? And you reverse engineer it all the way down to what do you got to do today? And as you proactively get stuff done, you can start checking off the list. Well, I did this, I did that, I did the other. And what else is next? You go from all the free, easy stuff to the free, hard stuff, to the cheap, easy stuff, to the cheap, hard stuff, to the expensive, easy stuff, to the expensive, hard stuff. And by the time you get to the expensive, hard stuff, you should have generated enough revenue from all the free work that the hard stuff is paying for itself from the free work. That's typically how it is. You should be able to build something, whatever it is that you're building in your life, should be self-sustainable. And it should be the type of self-sustainability that you can remove yourself out of the operation, which allows you to be successful. How you doing? A special shout out, IP8NW. Because LeBron sucks. Happy Thursday. So yeah, when you remove yourself out of the operation, where the operation operates without you and it's self-sustainable, where it generates its own revenue to pay for the cost of it generating revenue and still turning a profit, that's when you know that you're successful, no matter what it is that you're doing. Whether you're buying yourself a car that's going to make more money for you than what you paid for, buying yourself a computer that's going to make more money than what you paid for it, buying yourself some real estate that's going to make more money for you than what you paid for it. That all, as long as whatever it is that you're doing can be automated and it generates more money than what you paid to get into it, that's the cost of doing business. And you're in a successful, profiting business. You have to pay attention to your return on investment. And it's not just a return on investment with business, it's return on investment with your social circle. It's return on investment in your relationships. It's return investment with your employer, your relationship with your employer, not just your paycheck. If you're not getting as much out of this as what you're putting into it, you need to reassess your situation. Right? Your end goal, the return on investment on your end goal. You're going to put a lot into this. It's going to take 3/4 of your life to get to your end goal. But your end goal has to be able to start showing you results. Now, based on how much you put into it, you should be able to see results. So if you're not seeing results, because you haven't gotten there yet, you got to keep going. But if you're not seeing results after you've crossed the threshold of results supposed to occur, you need to start changing what you're doing. Because whatever you're halfway through 2026, if whatever wasn't working in 2025, you got to cut that shit out. And whatever you start doing in 2026, you got to stay consistent with it. But you got to consistently work towards it turning a profit. Because if you're not saving money with what you're doing, that's a waste, right? If you're not making money off of what you're doing, that's also a waste. right? And if you're capable of saving and making, you're able to double your revenue. You're able to double your lifestyle. You're able to double your freedom, financial freedom, freedom for time, where you're not required to be in a specific place at a specific time. And that's how you're able to truly retire, because instead of just saying, well, I'm not going to work with this guy anymore, but I still got to show up for work somewhere. Now you can say, well, I'm done working, period. I get up when I feel like it, and I go to work whenever I want to, if I even want to go to work. And ultimately, I'm going to do what needs to be done to accomplish whatever it is that I'm trying to accomplish, right? In whatever country I'm in when I'm trying to accomplish it. That's how you make it work. So that's all I got for you guys tonight. Again, I want to say thank you guys for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Sander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I will see you guys tomorrow night.
Higher ground! Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.